When it comes to a wildcard in a series, it's most of the time done very wrong, and sometimes they undermine the abilities of this wildcard, or they overvalue the abilities of this wildcard to make it worse than it is originally. Rudo Surebrec is the protagonist of Gachiakuta, and while we know that he's a wildcard, to what extent is his abilities? That is what I will explain here. Rudo Surebrec is the protagonist of the series and is someone that we've watched evolve throughout the series. From someone that was just reckless, and while he did care for the people around him, he didn't value the sense of danger around him and even caused more danger to the people that were in his life. This is an example with Rekko. But the longer we've seen him evolve, the more we've seen him be more apologetic to these characters that he's bonded with and genuinely have a connection with them that makes him understand how humans are. Rudo is a character that someone is trying to break entirely. The reason for this is because there's something that's holding Rudo to the standard that he is to make him the best person he can be. There's so many situations where somebody is trying to ruin Rudo and make him a complete monster. There is something in between him that is holding him back and making him seem even more terrifying than he would be if he was never broken. You see, if Rudo is broken, I think that is the main part where we see the end game of this series. Once Rudo is awakened into his true form, that is when the true nature of his dangerous abilities will awaken. The reason for this is because we know Rudo has a connection with something terrifying. Rudo's connection refers to the Cerberus, as his last name is Surebrec, and while a lot of fans did realize this, there's something more to his name. There's also something that a lot of fans have not even talked about, and that's that in one of the earlier chapters of Gachiakuta, Rudo's hands have been shown to be having burn marks. This is very significant because it pushes on the idea of the Cerberus, as is always related to hell and the hellscape that hell is, as when we refer to hell, we always view it as a fiery abyss. You know, that's how most mythology has hell, as this fiery place where the devil is standing on top of. So the fact that Rudo's hands are burning and shows this scar that he has that he was born with relates to him being the Cerberus more than just his last name. But we haven't seen these abilities yet. I just wanted to put this a step forward for you guys to realize that he will be even more dangerous in the future. But Rudo has a connection with 3. Everything that Rudo has done throughout the series, it's always been 3 forms. 3, 3, 3. That number is very significant. How many heads does a Cerberus have? 3. How many times can Rudo use his abilities? 3. This is very significant as the connection with 3 is very powerful for who Rudo is. Rudo has had 3 names as well. He's been called Rudo the Spherite, Rudo Surebrec, and now recently, Rudo the Cleaner. Everything revolved this character seems to be a part of the number 3. But let's not go too in depth with that yet. Let's go back to the way he does his abilities, as we've known that he can carry 3 abilities at max. This is what makes him a complete wildcard. Because in Gachiakuta, the way these battles are is that it's a chess game. Once you realize the weaknesses of the opponent's abilities, or Jinky, then you're going to be able to defeat them much higher. That is why Jabber defeated Rudo in the Raiders Trap arc, because Jabber figured out Rudo's weakness to his one and only Jinky at the time, because they didn't know he had a limit of 3. So once Rudo is able to figure out not only his weapons to his fullest extent, but the weapons of the people around him, he could counter them quite easily. Let's say he's fighting the leader of the Raiders and Zoidal. And let's say Zoidal's abilities are just to fly around. He has his dark essence around him, right? We don't really know the weaknesses to Zoidal's abilities. But what if Rudo finds out and is not only able to counter Zoidal, but then he's able to fight someone else right after. That's what makes him a complete monster, as he could just counter by whatever the trash is around him. You see, his connection with trash is something that's very powerful in this series, as anything that's always thrown away, he appreciates and is very close to. We see this as thrown away items he brings in and is always close to him, or more specifically, fairly recently with Amo, where she is viewed as someone that is complete garbage over the things that have happened to her, and yet Rudo is always close to her as a person. That is how Rudo is always connected with pieces of trash, and even views it as something that is meant to do something. And so when these trashy items he grabs, he puts a type of a weakness and an advantage towards them. A good example of this is Kurapika and his chains, as he's very effective versus the spider, but against anybody else he kinda sucks because his weakness is against everybody else, but his advantage is so powerful for the spider because they are the ones that ruined his family. That is why he's only strong against one type of Nen users, which are again the Phantom Troop and the spider specifically in them, because of what they did. Let's say he wanted to make a weakness towards anything else in the series, he'd be powerful against that one thing, but weak against everybody else. That is what I'm referring to here, where Rudo has specific types that he does and makes things very advantageous towards him. Remember Gris's amulet, he made that as no harm can come to him if the person is thinking about doing them harm. What if it's someone that doesn't think about having harm, but it's just a monster, like a reckless beast that does damage anyways? At that point, the amulet is not gonna work. That is what happened with Jabber, and why Rudo was not very effective in this one fight. But that weakness can completely be thrown away when he can make more than one weapon, especially if the weapon is connected to someone that he promised that something will not happen to him. So either somebody promises that with this weapon they won't lose a fight. Okay, Rudo uses that broken weapon because it will get broken at a time, and then that amulet or scarf or something becomes a giant weapon that basically makes him not lose. If that gets to a point, that's when Rudo becomes the ultimate wildcard, because he really can't lose unless he beats himself mentally. And Rudo has a lot to develop as a character, which is why he's not up there yet, but at endgame he's going to be the strongest in the series. But with this, he also has another ability as well, as he's able to transfer his energy into other people. That is how recently Follow was able to unlock his true power and become a giver, as Rudo's abilities is able to unlock someone else's giver abilities, giving him the ability to transfer giver-like status to other people. This is insane, because he can make an army of givers by just being near them and either bickering with them or just connecting with them enough with their Jinky, in this case a weapon, in order for them to transform. This would mean Rudo could have a giant army, or he could just help the general cleaners just have more and more people that will become stronger in the end and defend the world of the underground world. That is something insane that was brought up, because while he did that, it does take one less item that he can use, but again, he could do this genuinely throughout the day or throughout the week, just unlocking people's Jinky if they have a weapon that's near them. That is an insane level 1 ability that nobody else has. That is why in the beginning of the series, Semiyu saw his abilities and she was genuinely surprised because of how strong he is. But I have a feeling there's a third ability that we don't really know about just yet, because again, the connection with 3, the connection with the Cerberus, and all that Rudo has done for it in this series. And if I'm missing the third connection, that is on me. I genuinely think that these are just the 2 that we have seen so far. If we see him unlock a third ability, that will be even scarier for the series. And while we know right now they're trying to unlock the Cerberus from him in the series, we know that his power and all is going to continue to evolve until he has all 3 abilities unlocked. And while he's very powerful right now because of the way he's able to use 3 different weapons, and then these 3 weapons have either advantages or disadvantages with each, and how he can figure out the weaknesses towards his opponents, and he can unlock the abilities of other people to make them join his side. All of this is what makes Rudo Surebrec the Hellhound wildcard, because of what he can do and why he's such a monster. That is why TMZ wants to unlock his abilities, and that is why he's able to survive the in-between of heaven and the underground world. Nobody else can survive that, which means they're all connected to one realm, while Rudo is connected to all 3. And if there's not 3 realms, then at least just heaven and the underground world. But the fact he's able to survive shows us that maybe he's connected to the in-between realm, and the person that decides who goes where and how they live through that situation. Rudo is also connected to his father, who's apparently a murderer, and while we don't got anything else about his father, we do know that his father had the Watchmen series, a specific clothes that were originated from someone that is very powerful in this world, as he has the Surebrec last name as well. Maybe the original Cerberus as we know it. But with that being said, these are all of Rudo's abilities for now. He has the ability to transfer his giver abilities to someone else and to unlock their giver abilities. He has the ability to unlock 3 weapons for himself at a time in order to counter his opponents and fight against them, as that's what his Jinky is able to do. And while we don't know the 3rd one completely, we know that he is very powerful, as he's able to already keep up with some of the top tiers. And while he's not beating anybody like Arca or Zoidal or Tamsi, the fact he's able to fight against everyone else in the series shows that he's a complete monster and someone that will be a threat throughout the series. But these are his abilities, completely explained.